Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. In this podcast, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips, and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Hi, and welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. In this episode, our guest is Cheryl Ridpath Conway, who has recently returned with her family from a whirlwind 5.5-day trip to London. Cheryl created a fun-filled itinerary for her family, which included some of London's most popular attractions, such as the Tower of London and Westminster Abbey, plus a day trip outside the capital, a photo shoot, a trip to Harry Potter Studios, and 2 walk-in tours. In this episode, Cheryl chats through how she prepared for the visit and designed an itinerary which suited her family's interests, after deciding to head to London with only 6 weeks to prepare. Find out about their experiences visiting London in 2022, including reflections on the places they visited, tours they took, where they stayed, how they got around, best experiences, and tips to make the most of your visit. I'm really, really happy that you agreed to come onto the podcast today, Cheryl, and talk about your recent trip to London. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And you've been sharing some brilliant photos and your itinerary in the Facebook group. So I thought it was absolutely the best. The next step would be really for you to come on the podcast and talk about your trip. So would you like to just introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, a little bit about who you went with to London, and was it the first trip that you had to London? So there's a few questions I'm going to start you off with.
I live in Southern California with my husband and our 3 kids, 2 teenagers and 1 almost teen, so 3 girls.
Yep.
And they are very good sports about photo ops, and they love museums probably more than I do, so and history. I had been to London, but nobody else in the family had. And we just went to Italy in November and December. So we saw a lot of churches and a lot of museums. So this one we wanted to be more fun and maybe Harry Potter and Beatles focused and just like a more fun trip.
Oh, yeah, and definitely. I saw some of the photos that you had taken when you were there were amazing. We can talk about those in a little bit later as well. So how long were you actually in London for?
5.5 days.
Yeah.
And we were initially, so the trip was actually for my 50th birthday, which is next month. And we were originally supposed to go to the Amalfi Coast. We had the place booked and everything, but the flights were just kind of a nightmare. We couldn't find anything direct and long layovers. And finally I was like, you know what, forget it. I love London. Let's just do that. And literally it was February, I booked it. And then I just had to plan this trip in like a month and a half. So.
Oh, okay, that's great. Could you give us a bit of an overview of your itinerary, what you did in those kind of 5.5 days? We'll talk in more detail about each day, but kind of what was your overview of your kind of putting together your itinerary?
Well, we were, there's a lot of things you feel like you have to do, right, when you're going to places. And I knew that this wouldn't be the last time I go to London. So I was kind of thinking, let's just put those off and do the stuff I want to do. I'm a huge, huge World War II history. Sorry, my dog just came in. World War II history buff. So Churchill War Room was number one of the things I wanted to do, and I absolutely loved it. And if you do go, I recommend reading The Splendid and the Vile prior to going, which is the biography on Winston Churchill. It really adds a lot of depth to your visit. And then, so like Tate Modern and National Gallery, St. Paul's, like none of it. We didn't do any of it.
I was just saying you're going to go back again, so you can...
We'll go back again.
Did you kind of plan your itinerary to suit the interests of... Because obviously you had your 3 daughters, your husband and yourself, so you'd been to London before. So did you kind of lead the itinerary, or did you ask them for things that they were interested in doing as well?
I know what they're interested in, so I tried to tailor it to their interests, but I plan it 100%.
Yeah, like me, I have to look in the planning as well. It's always the fun bit, isn't it, when you're doing all the research and...
When we are going to a museum, I make them each pick one painting and research it and tell us about it, because it gets them more engaged in the museum. We did that when we went to the Louvre. But this was, like I said, it was just more like Harry Potter. We did a Jack the Ripper tour. We did a Harry Potter tour. And prior to going, we did Shakespeare's Globe Theater. So prior to going, we also watched Shakespeare in Love, which I think is R. So there was at one point where I hadn't checked the rating on it, but so they did show there's some nudity. I don't know if you know that, but it's a great, it really helped our family feel like, wow, like this was like Shakespeare's time, it was really good to watch beforehand.
I think it is. I've got a few articles actually on the website about movies set in London. I've got one about Scotland as well, because I always think, and it's something that we love to do as well, is watch TV shows or, dramas or informational TV programs about the place that we're going to visit, and also read books. I think that's always really good way to prepare. And I love the fact that you ask your daughters to research a painting as well, because that's a really good way, as you say, to kind of keep that focus and you can find that painting and talk to everybody else about it. So you're kind of the expert about it. So that's really cool. That's really cool. So should we talk about each day? So you arrived on a Sunday?
Yeah, and our flight was delayed. So the first day, all I had planned was the hop on, hop off bus and the River Thames cruise. But because our flight was delayed, we missed the cruise.
Right. Okay.
But I thought, oh, no big deal, because we were actually doing the cruise as part of the Harry Potter walking tour on Friday.
Yeah.
But then it was so busy that day that they wound up refunding that. So we never got to do the River Thames cruise. But like I said, I'll be back. So
absolutely. And the thing is, to be honest, I think doing the hop on, hop off bus is a brilliant thing to do on your first day. When you arrive and you're jet lagged and you're tired and you're like, oh. And it's also really just a good way to kind of orientate yourself with London, with the city, I think. Even if you just, you're still zombified from the flight. And I know we'll be flying back in 2 weeks' time from Australia, so it's 24 hours. So, that first day you're pretty much wiped out.
Right.
So I think that was a really good idea to do that. So it also give you a chance to just kind of relax into London a bit as well.
Right. Yeah, we were definitely tired. So that was a great first day, just easy. Then the second day we started with Westminster Abbey.
Yeah.
But we didn't do any formal tour, because this was a lesson we had learned in Italy with some of the museums and churches. It was more like, allora, look at that brick and look at this brick. And my kids were like, I just want to see it. Like, I want to feel it. In particular, we loved like Poets Corner and the cloisters. So we didn't need to like analyze every piece of it, but it was a beautiful thing for like an hour.
Yeah. You want to take it, soak in the atmosphere. So, such a historic building. Yes, and very, very popular with just about everybody that wants to go to London. I think Westminster Abbey comes up pretty much consistently as somewhere that people want to go to. And obviously you would have seen Big Ben, I'm guessing, just about with all the scaffolding off.
Yeah, so there was maybe like maybe like 20% of it was still under. So you can take great pictures. But I stalked the webcam for like the month leading up to it. A live webcam, just to see the progress, to see if I could get my pictures.
It looks stunning, I have to say. The photos I've seen that look absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So I really look forward to seeing that. So after Westminster Abbey, you headed across to because Churchill War Rooms are up close.
Yep. And I absolutely love that. Like I said, I'm very interested in Winston Churchill. So that was incredible, just to, experience the life in the bunker and read everything. Yeah. So we were there probably 2 hours. I could have spent another hour, but, given the kids were kind of done at that point.
Yeah.
And then we had lunch by the London Eye, and then we did the London Eye, which was the last time I was in London, that did not exist. So that's how long ago it was. I went, it was like mid-90s when I went.
Yeah, I remember going on it when it first opened, and I don't know when that was. That's the last time I was on it. We've actually booked to go on it because the views are just amazing up there. So it's a cool experience.
I actually preferred the Shard views. Like if you had to pick one, I would pick the Shard. Yeah.
I'm actually we're going to do all three, because we do the Sky Garden, the Shard, and the London Eye, because I want to do a bit of a comparison. So, because we're often asked that, which is the best view. So I said, well, it's a long time since I've done the London Eye. You get great views of Big Ben and Westminster. Obviously, the Shard's slightly further down the river, so would like to check that out as well. And then we did the Sky Garden on our last trip. So I'll be able to do a bit of a video in comparison, which I think will be useful, because it's, apart from the Sky Garden, which is free, obviously the Shard and the London Eye can it cost quite a bit.
Right.
So I think it's useful if you want to just choose one of those, which ones will give you the best views, you know.
We could not get tickets in the time that I wanted to Sky Garden. So it kind of made the decision for us, because that was my first choice, because the Shard is a little pricey. I think it was like £30 or ish a person. But it was so nice because it was a day that it was in between things, and we just needed a couple hours to sit and like have a drink and wait for our Jack the Ripper tour. So it was a good downtime.
Yeah. No, that's
okay. So back to day one. After that, then we went to Covent Garden. That was our final stop of the day. And I adored Covent Garden. The live music. I know that the performers have to audition for a spot, so they're all like really great. And the Apple Market changes daily. So the day that we went on a Monday, it was antiques and collectibles. But we actually went back later in the week because we were looking for prints, and I knew it was like art later in the week, so we went back on Friday. But I loved Apple Market. I got a perfume at Penhaligon's. Wherever I go, I always buy a perfume because scent is your strongest sense of memory. And so that ties to the trip. So my daughter and I each got a bottle of Penhaligon's.
Yeah. Oh no, that's amazing. Covent Garden's great. It's definitely, it's where we're actually staying in Covent Garden. I just love that whole atmosphere of Covent Garden. Yes, it is touristy, I guess, as well, but it's amazing. There's so many fantastic restaurants, museums around there, the theatre district. So there's just so much. And as you say, all the street, there's lots of things to do and see.
Yes, I loved it. So, I was actually looking to stay there initially, but just price wise, because we're a family of 5, we wound up staying in Knightsbridge right next to Harrods, because it was like half as much money a night.
Oh yeah, well we're staying in London a few times, and we are moving around, shall we say, because of it does cost by the time you start adding up. I think we've got about 8 nights in London altogether, so we're doing 3 in Covent Garden, and then kind of moving around the city, but just trying also different places so we can recommend different areas as well. I think it'll be really useful. So that was your first day. So did you have a meal when you went back to your did you say in an Airbnb or?
We did an Airbnb, in Knightsbridge. No, we ate at Honest Burger before the London Eye, and that was just kind of our big meal of the day. My kids have celiac disease, so I have to vet I have to know, like, I have a time here, and these are the restaurants that are safe. But there are several chains in London that are safe for celiac. Honest Burger, ZZ, Bella Italia, Pizza Express. So
I think it's a question that's often asked, actually, because of celiac disease or any allergies, and I think the UK is pretty good on that in terms of the menus and letting you know what's in or isn't in different meals. So did you kind of stuck to where you plan to go to, but did you find that it kind of catered well?
Much better than the US. All of Europe is much better than the US. But it's definitely, you can't really wing it. You have to prepare ahead of time. And there are a few places I had contacted, and they were very transparent that they couldn't do safe. What's that? Peggy Portney's, or that really Instagrammable. Yes. And they can't. So we didn't. But I love that they were honest and transparent about if they can safely handle it.
No, that's good to know. I know when I did a recent post about afternoon teas, because it's so popular, and I did check on all of the websites.
I saw that. Thank you for doing that.
Majority actually do say contact us, or they do offer that.
Right.
So I think they're very conscious of being able to be inclusive and offer to as many people as they can. I mean, and it's something that I think everybody's much more aware of. And I know sort of 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't as catered for as it is now. So that's positive, I think, for if you are traveling and you've got those sort of concerns or worries, that you can prepare for that.
Right.
So Tuesday, I know you did a day trip, so I'm quite excited to hear about this. So the first thing I actually want to know about this is, how did you choose where to go? Because there are so many amazing places to visit outside of London.
I've been to Bath before.
Yeah.
I loved it. I saw today you said something about getting a Sally Lunn bun, and that was like one of my most vivid memories from 25 years ago is getting the clotted cream in the Sally Lunn bun. We did
Yeah.
because they can't safely do it for celiac, but I loved Bath. So I knew I wanted Bath, and I just feel like you have to see Stonehenge. But like I said, I don't know if you saw this on my
Yeah.
post, but I was basically going to Stonehenge to check a box. It wasn't something like I really wanted to do, but I could not have been more wrong. Like I absolutely loved it. When we arrived, it had been raining, and then it had just stopped raining, and it had been forecasted to rain all day. So I really think that deterred the crowds. So when we went, there was like 6 other people there, and as you know, there's like nothing, there's no development around the area other than that
No.
one road. So it was so easy with the lack of crowds and the lack of development to feel transported back 5,000 years ago to like a winter solstice festival. And we had been talking extensively about the history on the whole way over. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh gosh, I loved it. I did not think I was going to love it that much.
And I think the visitor centre is amazing as well. I mean, the first time I went to Stonehenge ever, I was driving out to Wells, and at that point, I don't know, we're talking maybe 30 years ago, you could just pull over,
Yeah.
walk under a tunnel, and you were at the stones. Nobody really, I mean, people visited, but it wasn't as big
Right.
to visit or as well known maybe as it is now. But and then I remember the last time I went, I couldn't believe it because there was a big car park and there was a visitor centre and then there was a bus to the stones, which was completely different to 30 years ago. So it's good to know. And I think that sometimes puts people off. But I have said to people who want to go, I think the visitor centre is excellent and you learn so much about the stones and you get to see what was found in the area. And gives you the history as much as they can put together of it.
Right.
Before you actually go out to the stones, which I think is a good way to prepare and just to know a bit more if you haven't already kind of done that research.
Right. We took a private tour of the countryside, and we had a guide who was a history major. And so the whole hour out, he just told us about Stonehenge and then on the way to Bath. So it was just a lot of information, but it was very helpful. And it really, like I said, enhanced that visit as well.
Yeah, and so you decided, obviously, with that, you booked a private driver guide for that. So did he pick you up from the hotel and then take you?
Yep.
Did you design the day, or did you? I mean, how did you kind of set that up?
He has plans, but you can tailor it to your vision. It's mytailoredtours.com. His name is Oz, and he's amazing. So helpful. But I wanted to do so. After that, we did Bath, and then Cotswolds is like an option. And usually people choose Castle Combe or Lecoq, but I wanted to do both. One for like Instagram and two for my kids are big Harry Potter fans.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, we could shave a little off Stonehenge, shave a little off Bath, and so he was great. And he's like, I've never had people do so much in one day as you, but that's how we roll.
Yeah, I guess it was an early start and then a late finish.
7:30 start, and then I think 6:30 finish.
I think one of those advantages I've taken, because I don't know, John Coupland, who does John England tours, who does tours of the Southeast England, is in the Facebook group. And, we did a chat with him a few episodes ago. I think it was episode 6. And, the advantages of actually having it is a bit more expensive. I'm not going to lie about that. It is then taking a group tour, or even a smaller group tour. But I think the advantages are just the fact that you and we've done this a few times in different places in Europe as well. And you can learn so much, but you also get that kind of private driver guide experience. So you get everything tailored to you.
Yeah. And even if we were on a bigger tour, I couldn't have lingered in a spot I wanted to linger. So that, I really love that. When we were in Italy, we did a day tour. And again, that was our favorite day there of Tuscany, Pisa, Siena, and San Gimignano. Yeah. But you were on this big group. So like when they go, you go. And I would have loved to linger a little longer in some of those spots. So after Stonehenge, we went to Bath. And he told us all about the Baths, and then he didn't go in with us. That was like kind of on our own, but there's audio guides. But I had been there and I'd remembered it, and my kids just kind of wanted to see it. They didn't want to like read every little thing. So we were there way shorter than he had anticipated. But that was kind of my plan because I'd rather spend the time in the Cotswolds than lingering in the Roman Bath.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had lunch in Bath and then headed. And also another great thing about all these guides is that they all have iPads with clips of movies. So when we first arrived at Bath, my daughter's a musical theater kid and she's doing Les Mis right now. And he was like, have you guys seen Les Mis? And there's that bridge where Russell Crowe kills himself at the end of the movie or whatever. And so he showed, I wasn't familiar with the scene, but he showed us the scene and then we see the bridge. And it's really great to see the little clip and then see the thing.
Absolutely. No, that's really good. I like the idea of that. That sounds really, really good way of kind of bringing it to life as well. If you've watched the movie and then you see, oh, this is where it was actually set. I don't know if you're Bridgerton fans, but
Lady Danbury's house we saw.
Absolutely. So there's quite a few Bridgerton. I think there's actually a Bridgerton. Now I've got to get this right. Bridgerton afternoon tea at the Jane Austen Centre. I've got to check that out. They'll probably tell me off if it's not, but that's what somebody's told me recently. So I do actually need to check that out and see if that is something that they're offering, because I think that would be pretty cool. And there's quite a few Bridgerton themed tours as well around Bath would be quite interesting to take. So
they film some of the Featherington stuff in one Royal Crescent. We actually toured that as well, which wasn't on the original agenda that I had spoken to him about. But like I said, I wanted to shave time in the Roman Bath because I just wanted to see the bath and then see that was a really interesting, it's a museum set like it was in the late 1700s. So if you want longer, have you been there recently?
Not for a couple of years. We're actually there at the end of June for 3 days. I'm trying to think the last time I was Bath was probably about 5 years ago.
So I don't know if they had this then, but now it's like an interactive thing. So they have these screens in every room with this family and this kind of fake drama of what had, they want the third one to be a priest and the first one's gambling. But we opted not to follow along with that whole story and what's happening in the Americas with George Washington. We just wanted to see, the antiques and the beds and whatever. Very cool.
Well, we'll definitely be doing lots of those things and reporting on that at the end of June when we're there, taking lots of videos and lots of articles coming out, hopefully, about all of the things that we get to see and do. We've got obviously quite a busy, because we're back in the UK, for 12 weeks. So we've got quite a busy schedule kind of going here, there and everywhere. So it's going to be, but Bath was one of the absolute, it was somewhere we used to go quite often by train, but so it'll be nice to stay over and kind of experience again that kind of the atmosphere of the city, because it's a UNESCO World Heritage City. I think you just kind of, just feels it, doesn't it? It just, the heritage there and the history there and the architecture, everything is just beautiful in Bath. So you went back to London. I guess you kind of just crashed out that evening, or?
I think we got some wine and cheese at Marks and Spencer and then just fell asleep because we had early mornings every day. So then the next day.
The next day. This is what I'm very excited to find out about this as well, because you had a photo shoot.
Yes. So the next day we met our photographer at 8. In Italy and in London, I've used flytographer.com because they have people all over the world and it's pretty reliable. And so we used Jimmy and he was amazing, like just so game for our silly fun shoots. And he was just a really great, like a good mix of commercial and art, and just we really liked him as a person and as a photographer.
What time did you meet and where did you meet? Did you have kind of agreed places and what you were going to take?
We met at 8 a.m. at Cafe Nero, right by Big Ben, the Cafe Nero right there. Because there's so many photo ops, as you know, right there. There's Parliament, Big Ben, phone booths. We got a great shot with the phone booth and Big Ben.
Yes, they have a famous photo. So did you have all your shots taken there? Pretty much. And that was like early in the morning that you met, I guess, before everybody was up and about.
So we met at 8 and it was already getting crowded, but we managed to get some really fun, pretty shots. So we were very, very happy the results.
Yeah, I saw those. They were just amazing, and just such a lovely souvenir of somewhere that you've been that you can, you know, and the kids will remember as well. So that was really cool. So was that guest most of the morning or a couple of hours?
We were only scheduled for an hour, but he wound up going like almost 2. I mean, he was just I'm like, well, can I get the shot too? And he was just such a good sport and just really great to work with.
Okay.
So yeah, we did that probably for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for the rest, so then I guess if you'd taken props and changes of clothes and stuff, did you change clothes quite a few times?
Went home and dropped off my tiara and my teacup.
Yeah. Yes.
And then, we changed, and then we had lunch, and then we went to Warner Brothers. So
yes. So how did you get there?
So it was already all sold out. Like I said, we only booked this tour in February. So, I mean, this trip.
Yeah.
So everything was sold out. So I had to do a tour that included transportation, which I did through Evan Emmons.
Yeah.
We met at their office. You take a coach there. And then, but one of my daughters had to go to the bathroom. Like for some reason, she did not go at the tour place. So my husband and her had to get off the coach, go to like a McDonald's, and then Uber when we were already paying for this transportation and meet us at Warner Brothers. So.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. I think if you go, I mean, obviously if the trip is kind of last minute and like a few weeks before as yours were, it's difficult then to make because the Harry Potter it always gets booked up. Right. We've booked already for June. We booked that, I don't know, a few months ago because it is busy. But it's one of those things, I guess, that if you can't get tickets, because it's fairly easy to actually get to from London by public transport, train. Is that if that's always a godsend, isn't it? Is that if you can't get a ticket, that generally there will be a tour company that you can come with, who can do that.
It's more money, but at least my kids were able to go. So
exactly, rather than miss out. Yeah,
they were very happy. Have you been?
Yes.
You get like the little passport and you stamp it around, but it was very cool to see. And we did Universal in Florida, the one that's connected with Hogwarts Express, the 2 parks. We live in Southern California, so we've done the one here a bunch. We've done Warner Brothers here. Like we really like Harry Potter.
Yeah, you do. I haven't done them. I think we were in America in Los Angeles just before it opened. I think we actually went round to the park and it was there, but it was ready to open. Yeah. So that was probably 2015, somewhere like that. We were in the States. And I remember thinking, that'd be fantastic. So we actually took my daughter to Harry Potter Studios for her, I think she must have been maybe 19th birthday. We took her there. Cause again, it's quite pricey. Mm-hmm. We had a great day. So it's just me and Doug that are going in June. So we're really looking forward to that. So that'll be it. And it's an easy day trip from London if you have got tickets, because it's fairly straightforward by public transport. So that was a good day. So did you, then when you got back, what sort of time did you get back from the tour?
It was like 8 or 9. So it was a pretty late day. So again, just like had a couple bottles of wine. That was my dinner every night. It was just a bottle of wine.
Yeah. And then so got there next day, so we're on to Thursday. So I know you had on your, because I've got a copy of your itinerary, the biggest walking day, and that's that comes up. I know I've been trying to walk more, because I think that's something that can take a lot of people by surprise, is just exactly how much walking you do when you're in London.
Right. Well, I do that. This was the one for my kids, and I was just trying to prepare them.
I think it's a good thing to do, because I think if you don't, it can take you by surprise by exactly how much you're going to do.
But we actually didn't walk as much as I said on my agenda, because we wound up taking quite a few Ubers. We took the tube once, but usually we just Ubered, which is not the most economical, but we were just trying to save time. I felt like we had such a limited time in London that I didn't want to spend an hour transferring.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense. And also if you go on the underground, you don't see anything anyway. I mean, it's cool to go on the underground. It's a good experience, but you're underground, so you don't see a huge amount.
Right.
Taking Ubers is also a great way to get around. So you started off at the Tower of London?
Yes. So, which I loved. Oh my gosh, did I love it. So I commented this on your group, but would I recommend get there at 9 a.m. right when they open? Yeah. Beeline it to the Crown Jewels, because it was shocking to me how quickly that queue built up. Like, hundreds, maybe 1,000 people within an hour. So we saw the crown jewels first, and I just thought that was brilliant how it has the conveyor belt in front of it, because so many big attractions like that, it's hard to see, or you have to wait forever because people just crowd around it. And that just slowly took you by all of them.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was brilliant. I don't know why every attraction in the world doesn't do that. But they were incredible.
That is stunning, aren't they? Some of those you're like, wow.
Right? They looked fake because they were so humongous. They're amazing. So yeah, and then I really wanted to do the Beefeater tour. One of my kids was sick, so she was just not feeling it. So I said the 10 o'clock Beefeater tour, the crowd was massive. I mean, absolutely massive, because it was the first one of the day. So after you see the crown jewels, go do the White Tower, do the Bloody Tower, do the Mint, do the Torture Chamber, do all the other stuff, skip the first tour of the day, and then go to the second one. But my kids were like, we're done. So we didn't get to do it, which I'm super bummed out, because I heard them talking as I walked by, and they were so engaging and
so good, so funny. They have some great stories, and I think we've been to Tower of London, I don't know how many times, but the last time we joined this, the Beefeater was amazing. The stories that he was telling were just historically fantastic, but just interesting. Real storyteller. So that was really cool. And it's a Tower of London again. I guess it's one of those must visit places really in London, isn't it? And you get great views of the Shard as well.
There's some must do's that you feel like you're just checking a box, and there's some must do's that you see why you must do it. And that's one like, I see why you must do it. There's so much history in it. I absolutely loved it. And the history of it as a prison, as a mint, as a zoo.
I know.
Worn a lot of hats.
It's a very interesting place to visit. And Brits love visiting as well. Yeah. It's somewhere that we also go and visit and kind of appreciate. Because obviously we've got lots of castles.
Yeah.
And I come from Northumberland, which has even more castles than any other county, but the Tower of London is very special.
Yeah.
So it's true, and it's I guess when you start talking about kind of the must-dos, it's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? Of like, I've got these 20 places, I must do these 20 places, and the same way you travel, I guess, in the world, and it's choosing which of those ones kind of really resonate with you.
Right.
So if there's kind of 10 places, they must do it, but it's like figuring out which of those will fit in, and I think you did a really great job of that as well, of kind of tailor making it, choosing some of those things that you know, really great things to go and visit, but that were also tailor-made to kind of fit into what you wanted for your trip.
Yeah.
So did you walk, because I knew you went to the Globe Theatre after, so did you walk over Tower Bridge and then down towards the...
Yep. So yeah, we walked by London Bridge, which was really anticlimactic compared to like Tower Bridge. It's,
everybody gets mixed up because a lot of people call London Bridge Tower Bridge. Yes.
So we walked over to the Globe, and that tour was amazing because it was 50 minutes, so it was under an hour. Really kept the kids' attention. Like I said, we had watched Shakespeare in Love prior to going, so it was kind of cool to be there. Even my daughter, who was really sick that day, she really liked it. The one thing I was slightly disappointed was to learn that it was only like 25 years old.
Yes.
So I knew it wasn't the original, but I had thought it was a couple hundred years old. But it was built. I think it's 97. Sam Wanamaker.
Yeah. Yes, so they built it on where they think the original site was?
Near the original site. Yeah, there's a plaque, apparently. There's a plaque on the original one, which we didn't go see. But yeah, he kind of got the idea.
Near as they could get it.
Yeah.
Not knocking other things down.
But it's so authentic. You would never know if you didn't have that tour. So I absolutely loved it. I just wish it was older. I'll go back in 100 years.
Well, we haven't booked that, so I'm going to have a look at actually doing that, because I think that was something that we'd enjoy doing as well, and definitely watch the movie. It's just like sometimes trying to, we're going to be in London for about 8 or 9 days, but trying to fit so many things in. It's but that's definitely something I think I definitely would be interested in. I think probably Douglas would be as well. And then of course Borough Market.
Yes.
So I love food, so I'm really looking forward. I've already got a list of places that I want to eat there. So I'm like,
we had a list too, because there are 3 dedicated stalls, safe for gluten-free, a Thai,
Perfect.
an Indian, and a baked goods.
Yeah.
But I love even just the stadium type seating where you sit, like that's normally not how I'd be comfortable eating, but it was so added to the experience of this. You get your food and your takeaway and eat it there.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool place to go. And we're doing that. We're doing the same thing, guess that Tower London and then walking across Tower Bridge and then Borough Market and down. So that's why I'll definitely look at adding that Globe Theatre tour as well. And then after that, obviously, because near Borough Market, you've got the Shard. So then you went up the Shard.
Yeah. So I had booked it for an hour later than we had gone, but my kids were, and I thought we'd just walk around, but my kids were really, I said the one wasn't feeling well and they were tired.
Yeah.
So I went there and I said, hey, our tickets are in an hour. Can we go up now? And they were like, absolutely. So we just hung out there for a couple hours, which was really needed while we wait for our Jack the Ripper tour. It was a great way to spend a few hours. They have really fun drinks. I don't know if you saw the video I put. It's like covered in cotton candy and you pour champagne on it and it dissolves.
Yes, I think that's also gone on my list now.
It's very fun.
Yeah, I'll do that one. Yes, I'll just write that down. Yes, I'm going to have a lot of time, enjoyable time eating and drinking when I'm in London, that's for sure. I've got a long list of places that I want to go to. And then you did a Jack the Ripper tour as well. So how did you find that?
Fascinating. We had a really great guide for that. His name also was Jack. I don't know his company. It was like Get Your Guide, but I don't know his particular company. But I love that they tell you right away, like, we are not going to solve this mystery. Like, we still don't know who it is, but just really interesting, sad, but interesting story.
So did you, when you went down from the Shard, did you get an Uber to where you met?
No, we
Jack
walked.
For that tour?
We walked. Yeah.
Go on. How long was that tour for?
2 hours. It was 7 to 9, and then we Ubered home at the end of the night because we were tired.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, that's it. Now we're on to the last day, the Friday, with, I have to tell you, the best photo I have ever seen. Really, honestly, your kids were great sports to do this, because I know you had to get up really early in the day. So you just want to tell the listeners what you did, because it's fabulous.
So
fabulous.
Again, I stalked the webcam of Abbey Road. There's a live webcam, and I figured out what time would be the least trafficked and least pedestrians. And that was 6 a.m. shortly after sunrise. So we got up at 5, we got our suits on, and we headed over to Abbey Road Studios, and we took the Abbey Road picture. And we debated all morning, should we have Paul take her shoes off, but we didn't have a cigarette. So I'm like, it's really not authentic since we don't have a cigarette. So we let her keep her shoes on. But yeah, we recreated that iconic photo, and that was like our most liked photo of the trip.
Oh yeah, so much fun. And as I say, it's so cool that your kids agreed to get up and go and do that. And yeah, I mean, that's just it's a brilliant picture. So who took that picture?
My husband. So then we have one of just him by himself crossing, and he's like, this is so sad. Why didn't I take one with the kids? I'm like, I don't know. The future is female.
Perfect. Absolutely brilliant. So then after that, you did another walking tour. So you did the Jack the Ripper one the previous day, and then you did a Harry Potter, because I know you've said you're obviously fans of Harry Potter. Right. So the Harry Potter walking tour. So how was that? So that was it.
How I plan our trips is we hit it hard and we wake up early and we go late. But by the last day, I really like to wind down. So I only planned a few things for this day. So that was the Harry Potter walking tour. Like I said earlier, we couldn't do the boat ride portion that we had booked. They refunded it immediately, but it was a bummer because we never got to do our River Thames. But it was fun because they made it a game, and we're competitive nerds. So everybody's assigned to a team, and then you answer questions, and it's like 10 points for Gryffindor, right? So my husband and one daughter were Slytherins, and 3 of us were Ravenclaws, and we were crushing them. And my husband's like, nobody likes you. Nobody likes the person who's answering everything. I'm like, shut up. But it made the tour a lot more fun.
Oh, fun, yeah.
Just being engaged like that. And again, she showed clips like, oh, that scene where, and then you see you're standing there. So that was fun, but I preferred if I had to pick one tour, I would have picked Jack the Ripper over Harry Potter. I just thought it was more of an interesting story. And yeah.
Okay. So how long did the Harry Potter one last? Was that an hour or two?
2.5 hours.
Oh, okay, so that was quite a long time.
And then we walked through Borough Market again on the Harry Potter, and I ran into a vendor that I had seen the day before. So that was he's Irish. I have to tell you, everywhere I went, I was talking in a British accent, like bloody hell. And my kids are like, "Oh God, please stop! It's so insulting, so embarrassing." So I did it to a vendor. In Borough Market, he sells these like Prosecco rosé drinks for £5 that are so fun.
Perfect. He's my list.
He's like, actually, I'm Irish. And I'm like, oh, well, then top of the morning to you, whatever. He's like, nobody says that. So the next day we walk by, I'm like, oh, top of the morning to you. And the kids are like, oh God, Mom. But he's like, oh, it's me wee long lost Irish sister.
Do you remember? That's brilliant. That's such fun.
So go there, get a Prosecco rosé and say, top of the morning to you.
I will. I'll say that to him and he's going to be like, hang on a second. What's going on? Deja vu. I remember this.
He was so fun.
Oh, no, that sounds really cool. And then you headed back to Harrods?
No. Then we went to Fortnam and Mason.
Okay.
But we had a backpack and we changed in the restroom into like silk blouses. Because we were in all Harry Potter clothes. So I didn't want to wear that to tea. So we had an afternoon tea, 100% gluten-free because I didn't want any cross-contamination on the table. But it was lovely.
Good.
And I didn't know this, but they replenish everything. So if you're like, I love that chicken sandwich, you could have 8 of them or the scones. Because I'm picky, so I didn't love, I don't like eggs. And so I like the chicken sandwich and the scones and the desserts.
And I always love it because I love egg sandwiches. And don't you love it when you go to an afternoon tea? There's always something that you really love. There's always something that I go, oh, I want more of. Right. So it's brilliant to do that. So you can have as many of, because like for me, egg sandwich, yes, please. I just have 10 egg sandwiches. I'll go with that. Or there's a nice quiche there's there, or there's something. I'd always more go towards a savoury, and you're like, yes, please, I'll have more of those. So that's cool. So we'll definitely be doing Fortnum and Mason. I know we're doing quite a few afternoon teas.
Yeah.
We've got a few booked. So Fortnum and Mason is one that I really wanted to do. And did you do the Jubilee? Was it the Jubilee themed one?
I know the store has like their Platinum Jubilee branding, but I don't know if the tea was. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you had a good meal though, and that's a good way, I guess. Before you were flying home the next day, weren't you? So get your very very typical English experience with the afternoon tea.
Yeah.
And everybody loved it.
Oh, it was so fun. My daughter had been looking all week. She collects prints, like street art kind of prints, and we just didn't see them anywhere in London. So we're like, okay, let's go back to Covent Garden. So we went back. She found her prints because Friday was art day, and then we took some more red booth photos. And then because I really loved Covent Garden and Borough Market.
Yeah, they're really cool. I remember when I grew up, red telephone booths were for telephones.
I know now.
I'm from the northeast. There was literally one where my grandparents lived. There was just one at the end of the street in the middle of like the grass that we actually used to have to use. And it's so funny because it's one of those kind of typical British things. But I do remember when they actually had a function rather than standing next to take photos.
I know, but they can't get rid of them now because they're so
no, absolutely not. No, too iconic. It's a bit like the red post boxes, the red London buses. Those are too iconic. Yeah,
there's a great spot, and I put this on your post too. In Covent Garden, next to the Royal Opera House, where there's 5 in a row, and then there's that like ballerina statue. So that's a really great photo op. They're not symmetrical, but 3 of them are. So if you have 3 kids, you can put them in front of 3 boxes and
Oh, that's so cool. Well, I'll put anything like we've talked about, I'll put in the show notes as well and links to. And obviously when I'm back in the UK, I can add some photos to different places as well, which will be really good. So I'm going to put you on the spot a bit now. I know I did. So as a family, what were the top 3 things that you did when you were in London? And I can talk about experiences as well as attractions. So what were the kind of the 3 most memorable things, do you think?
As a family, not just me.
As a family, okay. Yeah. No, as a family, I'm interested, yeah.
Because I would say Churchill war rooms for me, but I think they liked it, but not as much as I did because they're not obsessed with World War II. But I think as a family, everybody loved the Globe, like really, really enjoyed that, and Tower of London. And then I would say Borough Market or Covent Garden. Like those were my favorite, like family things we did.
Yeah, they're good. And your 3 then? So obviously we've got the Churchill War Room.
Churchill War Room. Probably Tower of London and the Globe still.
Yeah.
And the kids they probably would put Harry Potter on their list. The Warner Brothers tour. It wasn't on my list, but it would be on their list.
You know, they would enjoy it. I was going to ask you a little bit about how you got around, but we kind of covered that. So you didn't bother with an Oyster card or anything before you arrived? No.
But my very, very favorite day, all 5 of our favorite day was actually the Stonehenge Bath Cotswolds day. So if I could only have one day, I probably would have skipped everything in London and done that day because I loved it so much.
Yeah. So maybe next time when you visit Cheryl, you can do a bit more of outside of London.
I would like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do encourage that because it's because everybody heads to London, which is great, and London's a fantastic city, and it's worth visiting. But I was trying to encourage it because I'm from the north, and I was like, come and visit us up north, and go and visit because everybody goes to kind of Bath and the Cotswolds and London, and it's like come and see York. And
York is on my list.
Yeah, York, Northumberland. Come and visit, explore Yorkshire.
Right.
Liverpool would be fantastic next time as Beatles fans.
Right.
Liverpool's a brilliant city. And obviously then you can Wales and Scotland, and we're spending 3 weeks going around Scotland. So you could visit the UK multiple times.
Scotland and another trip to London is on there. Next summer we're doing Ireland for my husband's birthday. Okay. But I do want to do another London, Scotland and countryside visit. But there's so many things, like I said, that we didn't do. I would like, and some of them are ones that are, like Tate Modern or things that people know. But there's also, I wanted to do the Prime Meridian where you're standing in both hemispheres. I wanted to do Sherlock Holmes Museum, which is super random, but and then I wanted to do the Whispering Gallery, but I think I said it's been closed since 2019. So when that opens, that'll be the only reason I go to St. Paul's because I'm pretty churched out after Italy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Italy does that to you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
doesn't it? But again, combining another trip to London and then just kind of visiting somewhere else in England. Often people take the train from London up to Edinburgh and stop off in York for a couple of days, and then kind of start their kind of travels around Scotland from there, which is a good way to do it as well. So, but obviously, member of the group now. So, if for future planning, where to you can come and kind of get lots of ideas and ask questions, and obviously we've got a website as well as with lots of kind of information and resources on it.
Well, it's so helpful because sometimes I'll see a picture and I'm like, I didn't know I needed to go there, but I need to go there.
Yeah. Oh, it's true, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know. It's one of those things that, I didn't know about that. Actually, somebody put a picture on in the Facebook group the other day and they were like, where is this? And I'm like, I have no idea where that is. And that loads of people in the group were like, oh, we know where that is. I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but it's a castle just not too far from Edinburgh, which I'd never been to. So I'm like, well, that's on my list. So even though Doug and I have explored, we've lived in the UK for years and years and we've explored the UK extensively, but there's still going to be places that would go, or I didn't know about that. So it's we also learn about fantastic places to go, which is really good. So I'm just going to just skip a little bit, I guess, and ask where you stayed in London, because I know you mentioned you had an Airbnb. So, and I know this be an issue when you've got for larger families. So obviously with 5 of you, staying in a hotel can get, also just even finding accommodation for 5 can be a bit of a struggle. Yeah.
So every time we've been to Europe, we've stayed in a Vrbo or Airbnb. So it was Vrbo this time. It was right by Harrods in Knightsbridge.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It was like a basement apartment and super small. But it worked for us. We don't spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My preference, like I said, would have been by the Covent Garden area. That's where I was looking because most of the things I wanted to do on this trip were there.
Yeah.
But it was like £700-800 a night, the accommodations there, versus we paid like $350 a night.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference times 6 nights.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I guess you can always get the Uber and, back to it. And so it's, when you kind of work out the cost, I guess it terms of it's still going to work out cheaper getting the Uber back to your accommodation.
Right.
Rather than when there's quite a few of you as well. I mean, to kind of budget that in.
We fly economy and I'd stay like I try and keep my accommodations to $350 a night. Because I would rather spend my money on experiences. We had a private tour of the countryside. We had the Warner Brothers. I'd rather spend my money doing things than where I sleep and how I get there.
Yeah, no, that's a good, and that's something. Well, we do. I know we talk about quite often. We sometimes will stay in a bit more of an expensive hotel, and then a B&B.
Right.
So we kind of. We kind of mix it up a bit. So we have that experience because we just couldn't, it would be lovely to be able to stay in 5-star hotels wherever we want, but that isn't going to happen. So we do it occasionally. So we, for example, we're taking the Eurostar over to Paris. So we always stay in the Megara Hotel, which is opposite the St. Pancras International. And it's a little bit more expensive than, but it's worth it because if you're catching the train at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever ungodly hour, which we will be doing, it just makes things a little bit easier.
I saw you're taking the Versailles tour. I want to hear about that because we're going back to Paris in the fall. And we did not hit Versailles last time. So I know you're UK, but I am curious to hear your thoughts on that Take Walks tour.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited about that actually because we've been to Paris numerous times, but the last time I actually went to Versailles I was 12. So that's a few years ago, shall we say. So I'm really excited about that. And also going later on in the day when it's the kind of closing time with the tour. So yeah, we'll be kind of feeding back on that and let people know what that's like and with videos as well. So we've got 3 days in Paris, which is a nice it's a nice amount of time to go and explore a bit of Paris and then back to London. We would have done more exploring, I think, mainland Europe if we'd had the chance because we also had Amsterdam on the list with the Eurostar, but
we're doing that.
You'd think with 12 weeks would have plenty of time, but that'll have to wait till next time. But you have to kind of look at those and no, it'll have to wait.
I know. We're doing Amsterdam, Brussels, and Paris in the fall.
Oh, perfect.
We did Paris, but we did not do like Sacré-Cœur and the Montmartre area last time. And we did not do Musée d'Orsay and we did not do Versailles. Because again, like London, they're my 2 favorite cities in the world. I'm like, we will be back. We do not have to hit everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas Italy, I didn't know if I'd be back. I'm like, let's just treat this like we are never going to be back and see everything. And our motto was, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And we just like hit it hard and saw everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. I took my niece, I'm going to get off topic, but I took my niece a few years ago for a 21st around Italy and we had absolutely started off in Rome, actually, and ended up, because at that point my mum lived in Switzerland. So we did the Rome, Florence, the usual kind of trail, and then ended up in Switzerland and it was amazing. And I know she wants to do that again. She's like, can we do that again? This must be about 6 years ago now. And I'm like, yes. And I do it exactly the same with the train. We had just an absolute ball. We really did. So it was good fun. Anyway, we'll kind of pop back to London. So is there anything that you would do differently next time you visit London based on kind of your last trip? Or
I don't think so. I love vacation planning. So even though this trip came together in a month and a half, I always had like a rough London agenda in my head. Right now I have the next, like I said, Amsterdam, Brussels, Paris, Ireland, and Greece, Athens and Santorini the year after that. So I always have, if gun to my head, if I had to plan a trip in a month, I could plan any one of those 3. So, I really, London was probably our most fun trip ever. Like it was just very tailored to kids. And it was very much, I didn't do anything that I felt like I had to do other than Stonehenge, which I wound up loving.
Yeah, exactly. You really enjoyed it. So I always, this one question I always ask everybody who comes on the podcast, and is, what would be the one tip you would give anyone visiting London for the first time?
Just do your research. because like I actually did not know about the Churchill War Rooms from my last visit 25 years ago. And I was watching a Rick Steves video and I was like, wait, what? And then obviously I bought books and it's now one of the number one attractions. I'd like to go to the Imperial War Rooms next time, but just do your research because I would hate to get home and be like, oh my gosh, how did I not know that? And miss something that you would have really have liked to see.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Well, Cheryl, I have to say thanks so much for coming on to the podcast today and giving us a report of your fabulous trip to London.
Thank you. And thank you for your your Facebook group. I learned so much from it and I just love seeing everybody's posts. So thank you for doing that for everyone.
Oh no, we love that because obviously, you know, with the Facebook group and the website, we've got lots of resources on the website now. I think we're heading to about 200 posts on there. Then we cover obviously London, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I actually might put a section on for Ireland as well because that's coming up more often. And obviously now the podcast. So it's great fun. We absolutely love doing it. And we love meeting people from all over the world. So, and finding out how your trips go as well. I think I'm just nosy as well. Love talking to people about holidays and about traveling. So it's just brilliant. So so thanks so much, Cheryl, for coming on. I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's so nice getting a face with a name behind the Facebook group. So thank you for having me.
Oh, no, pleasure. I'm sure you will have enjoyed Cheryl's trip report as much as I did. You can find links to all the places and tours Cheryl mentioned in the show notes for this episode at uktravelplanning.com/episode 13. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on your favourite podcast app. You can support our work with the Tip Your Guide button, which is located on the UK Travel Planning website. That just leaves me to say bye for now and happy UK travel planning.